Welcome to Smart Reads in Minutes. Today we're diving into The Magic of Thinking Big by DavidJSchwartz with a detailed chapter-by-chapter summary. Let's get started. Chapter 1. Believe you can succeed and you will. The chapter begins by defining success as more than just material wealth. It encompasses financial stability, personal happiness, self-respect, and freedom from fear and frustration. Schwartz emphasizes that everyone desires success, and that mediocrity is a condition people do not enjoy but often settle for. The core argument of this chapter is rooted in the biblical concept that faith can move mountains, and Schwartz translates this idea into personal and professional success. He argues that belief is the critical force behind achievement, and those who genuinely believe they can succeed will naturally generate the power and ideas to make it happen. Schwartz illustrates his point by describing young professionals who enter the workforce. Many of them hope for success, but lack the firm belief that they will achieve it. These individuals often remain average performers, unable to see the steps necessary to reach the top. In contrast, those who possess a strong belief in their success behave differently. They observe successful people, study their actions, and emulate their decision-making processes. This self-assured approach leads them to the top because their belief helps them see opportunities and solutions that others overlook. The power of belief extends beyond individual careers. Schwartz provides examples from various fields, from engineering firms to space exploration. A small engineering firm that believed in its capability was able to secure a multi-million-dollar contract despite larger competitors backing out. Similarly, he argues that advancements in space travel, medicine, and infrastructure all stem from a fundamental belief in possibilities. Without belief, innovation stagnates. The chapter also discusses the damaging effects of disbelief. People who do not believe in their potential attract failure by focusing on reasons they cannot succeed. A weak, half-hearted attempt at something, accompanied by a belief that failure is inevitable, often leads to failure itself. Schwartz introduces belief as a kind of mental thermostat that regulates what people accomplish. Those with low self-worth receive little because they believe they deserve little, whereas those who think of themselves as valuable take actions that lead to great rewards. He urges readers to develop strong belief in themselves and their abilities. He shares the story of a businessman who transitioned from a mediocre job to owning a thriving business simply by changing his mindset. The chapter concludes by reinforcing that believing big leads to growing big. Schwartz advises readers to make a commitment to believing in their success, as this belief is the foundation upon which all other success-building actions are based. Chapter 2. Cure yourself of excusitis, the failure disease. This chapter introduces the concept of excusitis, a mental disease that prevents people from succeeding. Schwartz defines excusitis as the habit of making excuses to justify one's lack of progress. He asserts that every failure suffers from this disease in its advanced form, while even many average individuals have at least a mild case of it. The key distinction between successful people and those who struggle is that the former do not succumb to excuses. The author explains that those who fail often have a list of reasons, ranging from poor health to bad luck, to rationalize why they are not achieving their goals. However, successful individuals encounter the same obstacles but do not allow them to dictate their outcomes. Schwartz categorizes excusitis into 4 common types: health excusitis, intelligence excusitis, age excusitis, and luck excusitis. Health excusitis manifests in people who believe that their physical condition prevents them from succeeding. However, the author argues that many highly successful individuals have overcome serious health issues. He advises readers to focus on what they can do rather than what they cannot, and to be grateful for their current level of health instead of fixating on minor ailments. Talking about health problems frequently, Schwartz warns, only magnifies them. Intelligence excusitis is the belief that one is not smart enough to succeed. Schwartz contends that successful individuals are not necessarily more intelligent, but rather more willing to use what intelligence they have. He emphasizes that the ability to think and generate ideas is far more valuable than merely possessing knowledge. Many people underestimate their own intelligence while overestimating others, leading to self-imposed limitations. Instead of worrying about raw intelligence, Schwartz advises readers to focus on attitude, problem-solving, and creativity. Age excusitis affects both younger and older individuals, with some believing they are too young to be taken seriously and others feeling too old to start anew. Schwartz debunks both notions, citing examples of individuals who achieved great success regardless of age. He encourages readers to recognize that age is often an excuse people use to justify their inaction, and that success depends more on mindset and perseverance than on age. Finally, luck excusitis is the belief that success is determined by external forces such as fate or good fortune. Schwartz dismisses this notion, asserting that what people often perceive as luck is actually the result of preparation, effort, and persistence. He advises readers to reject the idea that success is a matter of chance and instead take responsibility for their outcomes. The chapter concludes by emphasizing that the only cure for excusitis is to take action and eliminate self-imposed limitations. Chapter 3. Build confidence and destroy fear. Schwartz begins this chapter by addressing the paralyzing effect of fear on success. Fear, he argues, is the number one enemy of confidence and achievement. Most fears are psychological rather than physical, stemming from worry, self-doubt, and negative imagination. The common advice of "don't worry" does little to cure fear. Instead, Schwartz asserts that the only real solution is action. He introduces the powerful principle that action cures fear, while hesitation and inaction magnify it. Schwartz illustrates this concept with a personal observation from World War II. He recalls how new Navy recruits were often terrified of swimming exercises, but were required to jump into deep water to complete their training. Some who hesitated were eventually pushed in, and once they took the plunge, their fear evaporated. This principle, he explains, applies to all aspects of life. The only way to conquer fear is to confront it head-on. People who are afraid of speaking up in meetings, for example, should make a habit of speaking at every opportunity. Those who fear social interactions should practice engaging with others. Schwartz also introduces the concept of a confidence bank. He compares the brain to a memory bank, where deposits of either confidence-building or fear-inducing thoughts are made daily. People who frequently recall past failures reinforce their fear, while those who focus on their past successes build confidence. The key to building confidence, he explains, is to deliberately make positive deposits into one's mental bank by recalling and emphasizing successful experiences. He also provides practical techniques for building confidence, such as speaking up in meetings, smiling more, maintaining a confident posture, and walking faster. He explains that these physical actions influence mental states. For instance, standing tall and speaking with authority can naturally instill a sense of confidence. Smiling, even when one does not feel confident, sends signals to the brain that uplift one's mood. Walking briskly, rather than sluggishly, creates an aura of purpose and self-assurance. Another major obstacle to confidence is the fear of other people. Many individuals feel intimidated by those they perceive as more successful or intelligent. Schwartz advises readers to put people into perspective by recognizing that everyone has insecurities, problems, and fears. Seeing others as equals rather than as superiors helps dissolve feelings of inferiority. The chapter concludes by reinforcing the principle that confidence is not something people are born with, but something they build. Success is directly linked to confidence, and confidence, in turn, is built through repeated positive actions. Schwartz urges readers to make confidence building a daily habit and to confront their fears with deliberate action. Chapter 4. How to Think Big. The chapter emphasizes that the size of a person's success is determined by the size of their thinking. Schwartz explains that people who think small remain confined to small achievements, while those who think big open the doors to greater opportunities. He challenges the reader to consider their greatest weakness, which he identifies as self-deprecation, selling oneself short. Many people limit themselves by thinking they are unqualified or unworthy of higher goals, whether it is failing to apply for a dream job, hesitating to speak up in a meeting, or assuming others are superior. These mental barriers prevent people from reaching their true potential. Schwartz provides an exercise to help readers measure their true size. He suggests listing their 5 greatest assets, whether intelligence, personality, education, experience, or skills, and comparing them to successful people who may not possess these traits as strongly. By doing this, readers will realize that they often outrank successful individuals in at least one area, proving that they are bigger than they think. He advises never to sell oneself short and to always align thinking with one's true abilities. Another key point in this chapter is the importance of vocabulary in shaping thought. Schwartz highlights that words create mental images, and people who use small, limiting words reinforce small thinking. Instead of saying, "we failed," one should say, "we found a new approach." Instead of calling something a problem, call it a challenge. He argues that successful individuals carefully choose words that create positive, expansive thinking. He also warns against trivial thinking and urges readers to focus on big objectives rather than getting caught up in minor details or petty conflicts. Schwartz concludes by reinforcing that thinking big is a discipline that must be actively practiced. He encourages readers to visualize what can be rather than merely accepting what is. Those who develop the habit of thinking big will naturally attract bigger results in all aspects of their lives. Chapter 5. How to Think and Dream Creatively. This chapter begins by dispelling the misconception that creativity is limited to artists, scientists, or engineers. Schwartz asserts that creative thinking is a universal skill that applies to all areas of life, from business strategies to personal problem solving. Creativity, he explains, is simply finding new and improved ways to do things. Success in any field depends on the ability to innovate and adapt. He illustrates this by providing examples of everyday creative thinking, such as a low-income family devising a way to send their child to a top university or a pastor finding a way to double church attendance. Schwartz introduces the foundational principle of creative thinking, believing that something can be done. He describes an exercise he conducts with executives in which he asks if it is possible to eliminate jails within the next 30 years. Initially, the group resists the idea, providing numerous reasons why it is impossible. However, when asked to believe in the possibility, they begin generating dozens of creative solutions, such as expanding youth programs, increasing educational outreach, and reforming law enforcement. This demonstrates that believing in possibilities activates the brain's problem-solving mechanisms, whereas believing something is impossible shuts down creative thought. To cultivate creative thinking, Schwartz advises against being trapped by tradition. Many people operate on the assumption that things must be done a certain way simply because they always have been. He argues that breaking free from this mindset is essential for innovation. He encourages questioning conventional wisdom and being receptive to new ideas. For example, a successful insurance executive attributes his achievements to his habit of absorbing new ideas like a sponge rather than relying on outdated industry norms. Schwartz also highlights the importance of continuously asking, "How can I do better?" and "How can I do more?" These questions push the mind to develop smarter ways of working, rather than just working harder. He stresses that growth is unlimited, and those who regularly ask these questions will naturally expand their creative abilities. He concludes the chapter by urging readers to surround themselves with stimulating people, seek diverse perspectives, and continuously refine their ideas until they reach their full potential. Chapter 6. You are what you think you are. This chapter explores how self-perception dictates how others perceive and treat us. Schwartz argues that people who think highly of themselves command more respect, loyalty, and admiration, while those who see themselves as inferior are often treated accordingly. He supports this with everyday observations. Why some salespeople greet certain customers with enthusiasm but ignore others, or why some individuals are spoken to with deference while others receive casual treatment. The core idea is that thinking shapes reality. Those who see themselves as important and successful act accordingly, and others respond to them in kind. Schwartz illustrates this with a concept he calls the "sell yourself to yourself" commercial. He describes a young professional named Tom Staley who transformed his confidence through a daily self-affirmation exercise. Tom wrote a personal commercial highlighting his strengths and repeated it to himself every day, reinforcing his belief in his capabilities. This practice changed his mindset and ultimately led to greater success. Schwartz encourages readers to develop their own personalized self-affirmation script, listing their best qualities and reading it aloud daily to solidify their self-image. The chapter also emphasizes the impact of appearance and self-presentation. Schwartz argues that looking important helps people feel important. A person's attire, posture, and grooming influence both their self-confidence and how others perceive them. He advises dressing in a way that reflects self-respect and success, explaining that even subtle changes in appearance can affect mindset and behavior. In addition to personal appearance, Schwartz highlights the importance of viewing one's work as meaningful. He shares a classic story of three bricklayers, one who says he is simply laying bricks, another who sees his job as earning wages, and the third who envisions himself building a great cathedral. The third bricklayer, he suggests, is the one most likely to advance because he views his work as significant. Schwartz urges readers to adopt this perspective, recognizing that how they think about their job directly impacts their potential for success. The chapter concludes by reinforcing the idea that self-perception dictates reality. If a person thinks they are a leader, they will act like one and will be treated accordingly. Those who see themselves as inferior, by contrast, will unconsciously adopt behaviors that confirm this belief. Schwartz advises making self-respect and self-belief a daily habit, as these qualities form the foundation of success. Chapter 7. Manage your environment. Go first class. This chapter explores the idea that a person's environment plays a crucial role in shaping their success. Schwartz begins by comparing mental nourishment to physical nutrition. Just as the body reflects the quality of food it consumes, the mind reflects the environment in which it operates. He argues that a person's attitudes, ambitions, and even self-worth are significantly influenced by the company they keep, the information they absorb, and the way they structure their daily lives. The people who constantly surround themselves with negativity, pessimism, and low-quality influences tend to develop a defeatist mindset, whereas those who actively seek out positive, high-quality environments naturally cultivate a more successful and ambitious outlook. Schwartz explains that many people allow themselves to be held back by small-thinking individuals who discourage them from pursuing their goals. He warns that those who have settled for mediocrity often try to convince others to do the same, subtly or overtly, discouraging them from thinking big. He suggests that instead of associating with those who make excuses and blame circumstances, one should actively seek out and engage with people who have ambition and a progressive mindset. He urges readers to create a personal environment that fosters growth, surrounding themselves with successful and motivated individuals who inspire them rather than drag them down. A major theme in this chapter is the principle of going first class in everything, whether it is in relationships, professional endeavors, or even personal purchases. Schwartz asserts that while some people hesitate to invest in higher quality experiences or products, going first class actually costs less in the long run. He provides examples of people who initially opted for cheaper services, like car repairs, accountants, and even medical treatments, only to regret it later when those choices led to greater financial and emotional costs. The key takeaway is that quality matters, and by making high-quality choices, one reinforces their own sense of worth and ambition. Schwartz concludes by offering practical advice on how to manage one's environment for maximum success. He advises eliminating toxic influences, whether they come from people who gossip and complain or from self-destructive habits, like excessive exposure to negative media. He also encourages readers to expose themselves to new social circles, engage in uplifting activities, and consciously feed their minds with inspiring and educational content. By making deliberate choices about their environment, people can condition themselves for success and elevate their thinking to match their highest aspirations. Chapter 8. Make your attitudes your allies. In this chapter, Schwartz explores the immense power of attitude in determining success. He begins by emphasizing that attitudes are constantly being read by others, whether through facial expressions, body language, or tone of voice. People do not need words to communicate their feelings about life, work, or other individuals. These attitudes shine through in every interaction. For example, a secretary answering the phone can convey either enthusiasm and respect or boredom and irritation simply through the way she speaks. Successful people understand this concept and work on maintaining a positive, engaging attitude that attracts others rather than repels them. Schwartz highlights the importance of enthusiasm, stating that individuals who are genuinely excited about their work and life create a magnetic effect. He provides the example of professional actors who do not just play roles, but fully embody their characters. Similarly, successful people do not merely pretend to be enthusiastic. They genuinely cultivate excitement for their work and projects, making them more effective and influential. This natural enthusiasm fuels action, and action in turn generates success. He introduces 3 key attitudes that successful individuals cultivate. The first is the "I'm activated" attitude, which is about self-motivation and energy. People who act with energy and passion tend to accomplish more because they inspire both themselves and those around them. The second is the "You are important" attitude, which is about making others feel valued. When people feel respected and acknowledged, they are more likely to reciprocate with support and cooperation. Schwartz points out that recognizing and appreciating others, even in small ways, can significantly impact relationships and success. The third is the service-first attitude, which shifts the focus from personal gain to providing value to others. He argues that people who genuinely prioritize service, whether in business, personal relationships, or community work, ultimately achieve the most long-term success. Schwartz concludes by reinforcing the idea that attitudes are within an individual's control. Instead of reacting to circumstances passively, successful individuals actively shape their outlook and decide how they will engage with the world. By choosing to maintain positive, enthusiastic, and service-oriented attitudes, they open doors to greater opportunities and stronger relationships. The chapter serves as a reminder that success is not just about technical skills or intelligence. It is largely about how one presents themselves and interacts with others. Chapter 9. Think right toward people. This chapter focuses on the critical role of human relationships in success. Schwartz argues that no one achieves anything significant alone. Success depends on the cooperation, support, and goodwill of others. He emphasizes that a person's ability to build strong relationships directly impacts their professional and personal achievements. Whether in business, politics, education, or any other field, the support of others is the deciding factor in how far one can go. Schwartz explains that in virtually every selection process, whether for promotions, leadership positions, or social recognition, likability is a primary consideration. People naturally prefer to work with, follow, and support those they like. He shares real-world observations of business meetings where, before making decisions, committee members discuss not only a candidate's skills, but also their personality and ability to get along with others. He highlights that technical competence alone is not enough. Individuals who fail to build positive relationships often find themselves overlooked. He introduces the concept of making yourself lighter to lift, meaning that those who are likable and cooperative naturally receive more support. Instead of resisting authority, criticizing colleagues, or isolating oneself, successful people work on being pleasant, approachable, and encouraging. Schwartz warns against being a reformer, someone who constantly points out others' flaws and tries to change them. Instead, he advises accepting human differences and working with people as they are. He encourages readers to focus on the good qualities in others rather than their shortcomings. Schwartz also discusses the power of conversation generosity, allowing others to talk about themselves rather than dominating discussions. He observes that the most successful individuals are often not the ones who talk the most, but the ones who listen the most. When people feel heard and valued, they are more likely to support and respect the listener. He shares examples from sales and leadership positions, demonstrating how those who listen effectively build stronger relationships and achieve greater influence. The chapter concludes with a powerful message about setbacks and criticism. Schwartz argues that the way people think about others when faced with challenges determines their ability to move forward. He shares the story of a successful executive who, despite being passed over for a promotion, refused to harbor resentment. Instead of blaming office politics or favoritism, he analyzed what he could do to become more qualified for the next opportunity. Schwartz emphasizes that thinking right toward people means avoiding unnecessary conflicts, letting go of grudges, and always looking for ways to improve oneself rather than blame others. By adopting this mindset, individuals position themselves for long-term success and fulfillment. Chapter 10. Get the action habit. This chapter is centered on the idea that successful people take action, while those who hesitate or overanalyze often miss opportunities. Schwartz explains that the world is divided into two types of people, those who act and those who delay. He introduces the term activationist for those who take initiative and passivationist for those who wait for the perfect conditions before making a move. Successful people do not wait for everything to be ideal before starting a project. They begin and adjust as necessary along the way. He argues that even an imperfect idea, when acted upon, is more valuable than a great idea that is never put into practice. Schwartz uses real-world examples to illustrate this principle. He describes how many people put off tasks due to overthinking and hesitation, whether it's making a sales call, starting a new habit, or pursuing a big goal. He recounts the experience of a door-to-door sales manager who trained his team to make their first call of the day without overthinking. The method was mechanical: park the car, grab the sample case, ring the bell, and start talking. By eliminating unnecessary deliberation, his sales team was able to overcome the resistance to getting started. This same principle applies to all aspects of life. Action overcomes hesitation and fear. Another key concept in the chapter is using action to cure fear and build confidence. Schwartz explains that waiting and worrying only magnify fear, while immediate action reduces it. He provides an example of a young paratrooper in training, where the hardest part is not the jump itself, but the anticipation. The longer the recruit waits, the more fear builds. The solution is simple: jump immediately. This applies to everyday life as well. Those who dread difficult conversations, medical checkups, or starting a big project should act immediately to prevent fear from taking hold. Schwartz also introduces the mechanical action method, which involves starting any task automatically without allowing doubt to creep in. He illustrates this idea with a humorous observation. The hardest part of waking up on a cold morning is thinking about how unpleasant it will be. However, by simply throwing off the covers and standing up, the mental resistance disappears. This lesson applies to tackling work and business challenges. The longer one waits, the harder the task feels, but taking immediate action neutralizes hesitation. The chapter ends with practical steps for developing the action habit. Schwartz encourages readers to stop waiting for perfect conditions, as they will never exist. He emphasizes that ideas alone are worthless unless they are acted upon. By thinking in terms of now instead of later, individuals can shift their mindset to one of proactive execution. He concludes with a call to become a crusader for action, urging readers to take the lead, volunteer for opportunities, and step forward without hesitation. In summary, success is built on the habit of taking immediate action. Chapter 11: How to Turn Defeat into Victory. This chapter explores how setbacks and failures can be transformed into valuable learning experiences that lead to long-term success. Schwartz argues that defeat is not a permanent state but a temporary setback that presents an opportunity for growth. The difference between those who succeed and those who fail is how they respond to defeat. He contrasts three types of individuals: those who never recover from failure, the completely defeated; those who play it safe after failing, the mediocre; and those who bounce back stronger, the successful. Schwartz illustrates this principle with powerful real-life stories. He recounts the story of Lionel Barrymore, a famous actor who broke his hip in 1936. Instead of retiring due to the permanent injury, Barrymore adapted and continued acting for 18 years from a wheelchair, proving that physical limitations do not determine success. Another example is W. Colvin Williams, who lost his sight in World War II. Rather than allowing blindness to define his future, Williams pursued his dream of becoming a minister, even stating that his blindness was an asset because it allowed him to judge people based on their character rather than appearance. These stories highlight that defeat is a mindset, not a final outcome. Schwartz explains that setbacks often contain valuable lessons that can prevent future failures. He introduces the CAA method, referencing how the Civil Aviation Administration investigates plane crashes. Instead of blaming bad luck, the CAA meticulously reconstructs each crash to identify its causes, leading to safety improvements in aviation. Similarly, businesses and individuals can analyze their failures to find ways to improve and avoid repeating mistakes. Instead of treating a lost sale or failed project as a sign of incompetence, successful people dissect what went wrong and use that knowledge to improve their next attempt. A significant theme in this chapter is the importance of mindset in responding to failure. Schwartz warns against the "that's just the way the ball bounces" mentality, where people attribute failures to bad luck instead of examining their own actions. He provides the example of Orville Hubbard, who lost multiple elections before finally becoming a highly successful mayor. Rather than giving up, Hubbard viewed each loss as a lesson that helped him refine his approach. Schwartz argues that failures are part of an education, not the end of a journey. Another key lesson is the importance of constructive self-criticism. Schwartz advises that instead of blaming others or external circumstances, individuals should objectively evaluate their own weaknesses. He tells the story of opera star Risa Stevens, who initially failed in her career. Instead of making excuses, she critically assessed her flaws, worked on improving them, and ultimately became one of the greatest opera singers of her time. This self-reflection is what separates successful individuals from those who stagnate. Schwartz concludes the chapter by urging readers to decide right now to salvage something from every failure. Whether in business, relationships, or personal goals, the key is to learn from mistakes, adapt, and move forward with renewed determination. He emphasizes that losing is only valuable if one learns from it, and those who take responsibility for their failures and make adjustments will ultimately emerge stronger. The final takeaway is clear. Every setback carries the seeds of future success, if one is willing to extract the lesson and apply it. Chapter 12. Use goals to help you grow. This chapter emphasizes the necessity of setting clear, ambitious goals as a foundation for personal and professional growth. Schwartz asserts that nothing happens until a goal is established, likening it to how businesses plan their futures years in advance. Just as corporations do not leave their future to chance, individuals must adopt the same mindset. He recounts the story of Dave Mahoney, who rose from a low-paying job in a mailroom to become the president of a major company. Mahoney's success was not based on where he started, but on where he aimed to go. The lesson is clear. Without specific goals, people simply wander through life without direction, achieving little. Schwartz provides an example of a young man, FB, who sought career advice but had no idea what he wanted. He describes how guiding FB to envision his life 10 years in the future helped him recognize that success starts with a clearly defined destination. Without it, a person is like a traveler asking for a ticket without knowing where they want to go. This analogy reinforces the idea that people must take the time to visualize their future selves and outline a roadmap to achieve it. Schwartz urges readers to divide their goals into 3 categories: work, home, and social life. He suggests writing down specific aspirations for income, professional responsibility, lifestyle, family, and social involvement over the next decade. By doing so, individuals can align their daily actions with their long-term objectives. The chapter also emphasizes the power of self-investment. Schwartz argues that investing in personal growth, whether through continued education, reading, or skill development, yields far greater returns than financial investments alone. He highlights the importance of developing habits that align with one's goals, using a 30-day improvement guide to track progress and ensure continuous self-betterment. Another crucial lesson is the ability to take detours in stride. Life is unpredictable, and setbacks are inevitable, but those with clear goals adjust their course instead of giving up. He likens this to a pilot altering their flight path when encountering bad weather. The destination remains the same, but the route may change. Schwartz concludes by reinforcing that goals generate energy, enthusiasm, and automatic guidance. He shares the story of individuals who lived longer than expected due to a strong sense of purpose, illustrating how meaningful objectives can even impact physical well-being. The chapter closes with a call to set goals, invest in oneself, and take daily action toward achieving them. The message is clear. Success is built one step at a time, and each small action should serve as a stepping stone toward a greater purpose. Chapter 13: How to Think Like a Leader. This chapter focuses on the mindset required for effective leadership, emphasizing that leaders think differently from followers. Schwartz begins by explaining that leaders develop the ability to trade minds with others. They step into the shoes of those they wish to influence. By seeing situations from other perspectives, they communicate more effectively and make better decisions. He provides examples from business, advertising, and parenting to illustrate how understanding different viewpoints leads to stronger leadership. Whether giving work instructions, writing an advertisement, or disciplining a child, leaders achieve better results by considering how their message will be received. Schwartz then introduces the Be Human rule, which suggests that successful leaders treat people with respect and fairness. He contrasts this with the authoritarian style of leadership, where bosses act like dictators, alienating their employees and causing dissatisfaction. Instead, great leaders put people first and create environments where employees feel valued and motivated. He also warns against the mechanical, rule-book operator mindset, where leaders rigidly enforce policies without considering human factors. Leadership, he explains, requires flexibility, empathy, and a focus on progress, rather than strict adherence to outdated rules. A major theme in the chapter is the importance of progressive thinking. Schwartz argues that leaders consistently push for improvement, whether in their work, family, or community. He provides a self-assessment checklist, asking readers if they have made progress in their careers, improved their family's well-being, contributed to their community, and set personal development goals. This checklist reinforces the idea that leaders constantly evolve and seek ways to improve not just themselves, but those around them. Schwartz also explores the power of example in leadership. He explains that subordinates naturally mimic their leaders' behaviors, making it essential for those in authority to model high standards. Leaders who are enthusiastic, disciplined, and forward-thinking inspire their teams to adopt the same mindset. He warns that organizations, businesses, and communities reflect the attitudes of those at the top. When a company struggles, it is often because leadership has lost its vision or motivation. He illustrates how failing businesses are frequently revitalized by changing leadership at the top, which trickles down to the rest of the organization. The chapter concludes with a powerful insight into the role of solitude in leadership. Schwartz notes that while leaders are often busy, the most successful ones set aside time for deep thinking. He provides historical examples including religious figures like Moses and Buddha, and political leaders like Roosevelt and Truman, all of whom spent significant time in contemplation. He stresses that thinking is the most critical job of a leader, and those who fail to schedule time for reflection risk making poor decisions. The final lesson is clear. Leaders think differently by trading minds with others, treating people with dignity, pushing for progress, setting strong examples, and making time for deep, strategic thought. And that's a wrap on The Magic of Thinking Big by DavidJSchwartz. If you found these insights valuable, please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel. I'd love to hear your biggest takeaways, and if there's a book you'd like me to summarize next, let me know in the comments. See you in the next one. With much love and gratitude.